Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and with us now being past the halfway point of the undoing, I think things are slowly starting to fit into place. The episode does clear up the big cliffhanger from last week, however it also makes it seem like something else could be going on that could indeed tie into it. Now when we last left Grace, she was being shown the CCTV footage that placed her next to where Elena's body lay. Though in any other investigation, she would now be one of the prime suspects, the police let her go without asking too many questions. Grace states that she was simply having a walk at the time, and the officers, they must have taken her at her word. This shows that they're putting all their eggs in one basket and completely overlooking the fact that Grace could have carried it out. In addition to this, Elena's husband also had a motive too, and I think this sole focus on Jonathan will actually cause issues in the case, as they clearly haven't exhausted all options. Now though it could be possible that Grace is actually the one who carried out the murder, there is another option entirely that I haven't discussed yet. On our last video, YouTube user LA Musing said that Grace may have not committed the murder, but she could have indeed come across Jonathan carrying it out. The comment really piqued my interest, and the more I've thought about it, the more I think that the user might be right. They went on to say, what she is blanking out is not that she committed the murder, but that she witnessed him committing it, and her mind cannot accept the fact that the man she loves is a monster. Despite her background and skills in psychology, she literally could not see the truth. Now this of course ties in with her patient from the first episode, who discussed her own husband and the issues in their marriage. Grace was very quick to say that the patient's problem was that she was unable to see her husband for what he truly was, and I think Grace herself is indeed showing signs of that too. From what we've seen in these 4 episodes, she's very prone to hallucinations, and we learn that she also goes on walks to ground herself. It's a phrase that comes with the idea that the person doing this is trying to get back in touch with reality, and thus they must collect their own thoughts, which Grace likely does on her walks. So we have this motif that Grace is indeed prone to slip into certain fantasies, and that she may also block things out that could cause her dream life to fall apart. I definitely think that this could be what happened in the show, but there are of course other things that we do have to discuss. Now another big suspect was Franklin, however I think this episode pretty much confirms what we said last week. We did say that it would make no sense for him to kill Elena and not Jonathan, and in this episode he also pays for the character's bail. In addition to this, he pointed the family in the direction of their attorney, so for me it just doesn't line up. Now we see a much darker side to him in this episode, and he pretty much threatens the headmaster and calls himself a cocksock. That bit did kill me. Now Franklin admits to being unfaithful to Grace's mother, and we'll go into this in more detail later in the video. Whilst this shows the character in a new light, he also tells Jonathan that he thinks he killed Elena, which I don't think he would say if he had done it himself. Juxtaposing this, Fernando, Elena's husband, acts really weird this episode, and I think things do point towards him slightly for the same reason that they point away from Franklin. Fernando invites Jonathan in to spend time with his daughter, and if the character believed that he had killed his wife, this just seems like a very odd thing to do. If Fernando did indeed murder Elena, then he would know that Jonathan wasn't the one who carried it out, and thus would feel fine about having him in the house. Though he is angry at first, he comes around very quickly. I think anyone else in that position would have kicked Hugh's little head in. Now Fernando's alibi was that he was with his son, but we did see in flashbacks that he came across Grace and Jonathan getting it on. Due to the time of night she was killed, his son would likely be asleep, and therefore I'm not sure if we can put too much weight into his alibi. That also thematically ties in with the show's overall narrative, which is that husbands have things that they hide from the world. Take him away, boys. I've cracked the case. Now as for the plot of the episode, we pretty much get Grace drifting around asking questions, and she slowly starts to trust her husband more and more. She goes back to Badger to ask more about how he feels over his innocence, visits her father several times to get him to intervene, and continues to live at his house with her son Henry. We discover that Elena was obsessed over Grace and even made a mural to her. All of this just gets on top of the protagonist throughout the episode, and she ends up fainting and becomes hospitalized. Henry also says sorry to Elena's son, and they do heavily dig into this. Henry has been someone that I think has started to seem more and more like a suspect the longer that we've gone on in the series. Like his mother, Henry lives in a bubble, and it could be possible that when faced with what his father did, he decided to kill Elena in order to stop her from breaking up his parents' marriage. We did a much deeper dive on this in our last video, but the fact he says sorry could hint at him apologizing for killing the boy's mother. He plays it up as being something that's part of the school's motto, but anyone who went to school and had to deal with these kinds of things knows that you don't really pay that much attention to them. Henry wasn't at the party, and at the time of Elena's murder, his whereabouts are unaccounted for. Those are kind of the minor suspects, I think, and if you're enjoying the video so far, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we do videos like this each and every day. We will of course be covering the rest of the series, and we're also doing breakdowns on his Dark Materials and The Mandalorian, so there's plenty of reasons to stick around. Now last time, whilst I did bang on about how innocent Jonathan was, I've slowly started to change my mind. Early on he mentions that he's estranged from his family, and this could be because they actually know the truth about what he's like. He also admits to having another affair, and the signs that he's not who he says he is are becoming more and more clear. When talking to his lawyer Haley, we also see her standing in front of a picture of two shadows reflecting one another. Symbolically, this could hint at him having two sides, and throughout our breakdowns we pointed out how there are often two figures used to convey this idea of duality. Going to Fernando's house is also a really odd move, especially as it's breaking a condition of his bail. The guy also goes on TV to do a Gone Girl over his infidelity, and he still seems to be obsessed with Elena as he admits to loving her. As mentioned by his co-workers, Jonathan would play up having Elena, and this is what got him fired in the first place. So him playing it up to the press definitely feels in line with that, and Haley even says to him that he has the capability to mesmerize people. Not only did he mesmerize Grace, he also got me, and I think the fact that he's estranged from his family, has had several affairs, is just made it so obvious. Now Franklin admits to cheating on Grace's mother, and he says because Jonathan reminded him of himself, he took an instant dislike to him. Because of this, he said that he believes Jonathan killed Elena, and I think this does tell the audience what's really going on with him. His DNA is at the scene of the crime, no one else's is, and he ends the episode by trying to come off as some sort of victim. His final words are that he has some idea of who was behind the crime, and I think that he might actually try to throw Grace under the bus if he was indeed at the crime scene when it was carried out. Anyway, that concludes the episode, and obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well as what your theories are. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a thumbs up, and make sure you check out our breakdown of last week's entry, which will be linked at the end. Don't forget we're giving away 3 copies of the Marvel Phase 2 box set, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below. The winner is going to be chosen at random at the end of the month, so make sure you get involved. If you want to support the channel and get to see content early, then please consider clicking the join button below. You can also come chat us on the Discord server, linked in the description, or at Heavy Spoilers on Twitter. Thanks for making it until the end of the video. You've been the best. I've been Paul. I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.